Evening's meeting of the Ridgecrest City Council. Are we good to go? Thank you, sir. We'll go ahead and open this meeting by calling it to order at 6:01 p.m. with our roll call.
Mayor Bruin.
Here.
Mr. Blades.
Present.
Mr. Rajaratnam.
Present.
Mr. Heyman.
Present.
We have 4 present. We do have a quorum with Ms. Breeden absent.
Thank you very much. Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there any changes or amendments to the agenda as presented? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Please vote.
She didn't even give you a chance to, Solomon. It already moved on.
No, it still says it's up there.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, let's just do a roll call vote on that.
Do a
one,
roll
then
call
I'm not sure
vote
what
since
happened.
it did not register.
Mayor Bruin.
Aye.
Mr. Blades.
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam. Aye. Mr. Heyman.
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 absent. Motion carries.
Okay. If I can go ahead and ask everyone to go, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Captain, if you wouldn't mind leading us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilman Rajaratnam.
Please join me in prayer if you would. Lord, thank you for giving us this day. Thank you for this new year. Let this new year be prosperous and happier. Lord, last 2 years have been challenging due to COVID situation. Lord, let this year be a successful year for the city. Lord, I pray for our country. Lord, I ask you to pour out your life, love, and liberty on this country. Lord, I pray for all the families who have lost their loved ones during the past couple of years. Give them your comfort. I pray for all the people who are suffering due to COVID. Give them your healing hand, Lord. Lord, I pray for the hospital, the doctors and nurses who are attending the COVID patients. Lord, give them your strength. I pray for the school district. Give them your wisdom to navigate through this difficult situation. Lord, I pray for the city council. Give us your wisdom as we deliberate and take decisions. Let all those decisions be beneficial to this community. Lord, bless each one of us who are here. I ask this in the most precious name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.
Okay. First on our agenda this evening is public comment. This would be persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not take action on any item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section of the agenda is limited to 1 hour. And each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. Is there any public comment from the floor?
Good evening, Council. Scott Miller on 341 East Wilson. Something came to my attention today, and I don't know if it's your guys' purview or not, but I learned today that with COVID, taxis are no longer allowed on base. Thus, there are some veterans who are not able to get to appointments on base for medical care. So taxis aren't able to get on there, Uber's not able to get on there, and I don't know if council can reach out to whoever they need to reach out to in transportation that can help assist those vets who need to get on base with however they need to do it. I don't know the answer, but I'm just letting you guys know that came to my attention today, and I thought I would let you guys know.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was unaware until today. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay. Any other public comment? Is there any comment from the phones? Seeing none. We'll go ahead and move on to council announcements. We'll go ahead and begin left to right since I don't got a piggy to my right.
Nothing.
Dick Dastardly?
Not a thing.
Okay.
None.
I'm loving it though. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I know.
It's getting a lot of laughs.
I'm having fun with it. Councilman Rajaratnam. Any council announcement? No. Mine is simply Happy New Year. It's so nice to be back into the dais, and welcome to 2022. I hope everyone had a safe, happy, healthy holiday season. I know I certainly did. I just got back from being out of town yesterday, and I'm thrilled to be back here and serving our community. And that's my only announcement is I hope everyone had a great holiday season.
No comments.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by any means, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item before action is taken. There are 3 items on our consent calendar this evening. First is proposed action to approve the draft minutes of the Ridgecrest City Council regular meeting dated December 1st, 2021. Second is proposed action to approve the draft minutes of the Ridgecrest City Council regular meeting dated December 15th, 2021. And third is to approve a resolution of the City of Ridgecrest City Council scheduling the date for the annual unmet transit needs public hearing for March 2nd, 2022, and authorizing the city clerk to advertise the hearing. Do any members of the council wish to have an item pulled?
Mayor, I would like to pull the minutes for the 15th. I have one correction.
Okay.
Item 2.
Is it something we can correct it and still approve, or is it something that needs to be pulled?
Yes, I just need to add some words to something in, under council attorney report.
So you just pull it for at this time?
Yes, please.
Okay. Item number 2, the proposed action to approve draft minutes of the Ridgecrest City Council regular meeting has been pulled by the city clerk. Are there any other items which council wish to have pulled? Hearing none, are there any other items which members of the public wish to have pulled? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar as presented?
I make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and second.
Please vote. We have 4 ayes, 1 absent. Motion carries.
Okay, next item is not that.
Number 2, yes. 'Cause
Oh,
we
it's pulled.
it
So you would like it pulled and then voted and rejected?
separately. No, you
Oh,
can approve.
just
I just
pulled
have to
and-
make a change. So
Pulled
you
and
can approve
changed.
it.
I apologize. That's why we're pulling.
Yes.
Okay, what is the change to them?
On the closed session report out, it right now just says unanimously approved, and the attorney would like that changed to proposed settlement unanimously approved. So we're just adding that proposed settlement in front of there.
Okay.
Simple change.
Okay.
So you can take a vote unless you have some
Yeah, no,
questions on me.
I'm finding where you're saying.
Report out of closed session?
Yep.
In the closed session report out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it just says unanimous. I see exactly what you're talking about. I was just trying to see it. So the requested motion is for the minutes to be amended with the unanimously approved, edited for the proposed settlement was
Approve as
unanimous.
amended, just approve the minutes as amended.
Okay. Do I have a motion for approval as amended?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and second.
We'll have to do, nope, go ahead. We can vote. Look at Gary go. Four ayes, 1 absent. Motion carries. you very
Fantastic. Okay, so next item is item number 4, which is discussion regarding the board of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. Mr. Heyman.
So the board has not met, so I reported out at the last meeting on the previous GA meeting. So we will be meeting next Wednesday, so we'll have more to report out on our next council meeting.
Okay. I have a couple questions. Does somebody else have any questions for GA?
Just some general questions that I think letters are finally starting to go out to folks.
That's exactly what I was going to address.
Okay, well, you can go ahead if you want. I would just a general,
Go ahead.
I'm sure you're going to field a lot of questions at your next meeting about the adjudication, what that's going to mean for people. I know it's not specifically the city of Ridgecrest, but there's a lot of de minimis well owners who are concerned because they don't exactly have legal representation, to taking care of their interests. So I guess there's nothing really you can do at this meeting. I guess I'm just passing on to you sentiment from people throughout the city saying, hey, this is a concern. What does this mean for us? Now, I know that the Water District held an adjudication meeting for educational purposes from their standpoint. Hopefully everybody's getting out of that what they need to get out of. There's going to be a second meeting, I believe, the Water District is going to hold. And so I guess really what I'm saying to you is part of our, are you prepared for all those questions that are going to come at you? Because I know I have a bunch, but I'm not going to sit here and hammer you with them because you're just the chairman of a board. It's not like you're not running the whole board.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have an answer per se, other than, yes, people are starting to get them. I received one. I've had a few members of the community ask, not knowing what it was about. So I just gave them a brief explanation of, that it's a basin-wide adjudication that the Water District has filed. And so, yeah, I think we'll be hearing a whole lot more questions about it.
I mean, I hope we do. It's a painful process that I don't really appreciate or wish was happening, but it's here. So I was just passing that sentiment along, not like you haven't heard it, but yeah.
I think a lot of those questions should be directed to and addressed by the Water District. They're the entity that filed for the full adjudication. They themselves understand why and what the reasonings for it. I think it's better to come directly from them and their legal staff to the community. Otherwise, in some aspects, we're speculating.
Oh, we absolutely are. The only advice I've given to people, if they're outside of, if they're not directly represented by a certain entity, is to get with your county supervisor, get with Philip Peters, or get with you directly, the Groundwater Authority, to get any of your questions answered. Other than that, there's not much else I can say to people, since we're all tied up in litigation now. But there's a lot of very big questions. Hopefully we can have that discussion here if Eric has other questions. But I have a lot of comments that I'm trying to be conservative because I don't really know what we can say and what we can't say.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback on Kyle. So, I mean, I got the letter too. So I just came back to my office for the first time in 2 weeks, and there's my certified mail letter waiting for it. And I did what I'm afraid many people aren't doing, which is I actually sat down and read it. So I want to make that as the first statement above all other statements, which is that if you've received a certified mail letter that describes the adjudication and everything going on, and you haven't actually stopped to read the entire letter, start there. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm trying to be frank. It clearly defines whether or not you feel you should be included in the lawsuit or whether you don't feel you should be included in the lawsuit, whether you pump water from your property or you don't pump water from your property. So, as you guys know, my professional relationship is as a manager of a financial institution. I don't pump water from my property. I'm on Water District water, which means that I'm not going to be party to a claim in the adjudication. However, I did the responsible thing of reading every detail so I can understand what's here. Now, it's with that point that I don't really want to address a question, but I'm going to address a little bit of public sarcasm. It's the beginning of January. It's a new year. Let's get it going. I've been, one of the criticisms has been the fact that I said Armageddon. And I just want to, if you take the time to read the entire document, the next to last page has Armageddon highlighted in it on the next to last page for everybody who's not paying attention. And I'm going to go and read it for the public, which says, pursuant to Code of Civil Procedure, Section 847, and upon a showing the basin is in a condition of long-term overdraft, which all parties agree to, that we are in long-term overdraft. The court, not the GA, not the city, the court, may impose a preliminary injunction which may include a moratorium on new or increased appropriations for the basin, new construction, a limitation on or reduction in the extraction of water from the basin, a reduction to the households and to the businesses in our community. C, an allocation among the parties establishing amounts of extraction allowed from the basin during the pendency of this comprehensive adjudication, how much you can use during the adjudication. And D, procedures for voluntary transfers of water. I'm only pointing this out because obviously there's nobody on the Water District or at the city level or at the GA level that wants to see the court take these actions. But the fact is that in the prayer for relief under this case, those are the exact actions they're requesting that the court may impose.
They, the water district, right?
They, the water district,
Right.
may impose. I'm not trying to say they will. I'm not trying to say that it's but if you're going to be critical of the problem, then be critical of the entire problem. We sit up here and we are absolutely advocating for this community. And we're willing to work with the water district. There's communication going on. We're providing feedback. All of these things are happening. That clause is what scares the city. It's right there. It's in everyone's mailbox. If you don't believe me, open up your mailbox, read through 18 pages, and read it for yourself. It's right there. And I'm only bringing this up because if we're going to talk seriously about water, which we're going to talk a lot about in 2022, and we're even, there's going to be lots of these situations. I just want to make sure that I'm clear about why we're concerned about certain things and why we're not. So I'll let you address
No,
it.
and I'd like to add to that the adjudication process, this lawsuit, at a minimum could be a few years, and one of the more recent ones that was settled, don't want to be quoted on the exact time frame, but I believe it was 17 plus years that it took to settle this. So the implications that this could have on the city, I think, should bring some pointed attention from the city in its net effects that it may have on us.
Yeah, that was something that I heard said back to the city when we brought it up, that we're using scare tactics. It's actually a point-blank fact that we have pretty good lawyers, and especially like Keith Lemieux, who's worked on this for a long time. He was a part of it. He would know, and he said, "Yeah, guys, I'm not BSing you. This could take a long time. This could be a very expensive ordeal." Now, that doesn't mean that that's what it's going to be. And I think
Exactly.
so. If I'm being objective, which I hope to be here, the water district has expressed that we want to see it be short. We want to have as many people come together as we can. We want this to be the kind of effort where we work together. And but that's a very optimistic view of things. And when you get a court involved, and then you get somebody huge involved like the Navy, I don't know if it's going to be that cut and dry. But again, I'm speculating, as Ron said, so I should probably quit speculating at some point. But it is it's a disheartening process, but it appears we're in the midst of it anyways.
I'd also add that the water district did have a meeting here recently to educate, I guess, was their main focus to the public on the adjudication process. But I did attend that meeting, as did Councilman Blades, and I did go up and ask a question to the water district pertaining to what was their beliefs and thoughts on have they set the cost what the costs are going to be, basically, was my question as to is it the cost per year, and the fact that this could go on for many years in length, how is that going to trickle back down to the ratepayers, and which does affect the city. We're one of the primary ratepayer groups of the water district. And another question I had pertained to Councilman Blades earlier, discussion about the private well owners, and so I have concerns on the effects it's going to have on private well owners. They're de minimis users. Per Sigma is not specifically they're exempt from being affected, but I don't know if that's the case here, because they're all being served this adjudication letter, and so there are some concerns. I think we need to stay.
Yeah, I think there are valid concerns that we should bring up at these meetings, because they're going to affect people in the city. If not, it's affecting somebody in the county. It's going to affect people financially, just as the fees did. As soon as the fees for the GA, as soon as those went into effect, people really started paying attention. This is another one of those rubber meets the road type situations where people are now seeing their notices in the mailbox and getting excited, as they should. I would,
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions I have, and I just don't know. And we can take the call. I could take this discussion. I could go on this discussion for an hour, but I'm going to try to save
This is our only time to discuss it, so I appreciate the active discussion from.
I've had a lot of questions. I think that they're the only optimistic point that I got out of that meeting that the water district seemed to want to convey seem to, I'm saying seem, I can't speak for them or anybody else, but what I interpreted was that they would like to see the basin adjudicated, sort of set to zero. We want to see things go, everything be fair, so to speak. This is something that concerns me, is that there's some entities that I think they're going to be brought into this, such as agriculture. It seems to me if they end up with an allocation out of that, that's a vast difference than the way the GA plan was written, and that's going to have a large impact to our valley. Now I'm asking you to speculate, but do you think that's true?
Oh, I think it's very true. I think any changes in, allocations or, to various groups or pumpers will have a direct effect on other pumpers. Sure. Basically an adjudication that would, if a judge, allots out water, in a specific manner, then sure, that's going to have a change in net effect on the situation as a whole and other pumpers. So whether it's a positive benefit, like say to the water district, if they came out in a better position with it, or could they come out in net negative position with it and end up costing more? We don't know. But that is concern.
It is. That's another thing I want to bring up. I know that a lot of people don't pay attention to the allocation and how that works. They saw the fee and how it gets passed through the water district to the GA, and it could be positive, right, where some of that rate goes down. That's a possibility, right? But if you're being a realist, you're shaking your head no, because it's in reality that's probably not going to happen. But I just want to make sure I'm bringing it up, that we're talking about these things, because I think that's been a complaint from the public before, that we're not sitting here talking about them. As I hope everybody understands that I try to educate myself as much as possible on this. I know Scott Heyman knows a lot. I think everybody on this dais understands a lot about the situation, but there's only so many times we can talk about it, and to whom. Sorry, I'm going to rattle on. Do we want to talk to whoever's on the phone?
Yeah, I will. Again, and I'm not trying to play scare tactics either in any way, shape, or form. I want to reiterate, this is the unified. I feel like this is a very unified direction from our council, that we're actively paying attention. We're actively involved in the process. We know there's discussions going on. This is a process we don't know how it turns out, but I just need to make sure that this community sees and understands where this process went through and why the city has concerns over certain language that's within the document. Because, let's just imagine a world where the adjudication does take, 10 years. Are they going to continue to let us pump for the court's going to say, sure, just keep overdrafting it for the next 10 years while we settle this? That's not going to happen, people. The court's going to say there's a solution to this that's reasonable and timely, or your basin is in such a critical overdraft. You've all agreed to that fact. Then you have to take these type of radical actions, and we live in a world where the idea of radical actions by government entities is not exactly a foreign language right now.
I have one more question, Scott. I don't know if you guys know yet, but I know that there was discussion of the plan being approved sometime around the first of the year.
Correct, and we have not heard anything back yet.
Okay.
We should hear something by the end of the month.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I'll zip it and let the
Okay, we'll go and take any other comments to share? Okay. We'll go ahead and begin with callers on the phone. And we'll go ahead and take it out to the public. Caller, state your name.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, this is Kathy Brown. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Hope everyone's fine. I'd like to respond to the lawsuit. I received my letter, and everybody's getting it, and it's pretty shocking. And I agree with Kyle. It's kind of scary. It's basically saying, I did read it 5 times, all the stuff, and what I'm getting out of it is that they want us, I'm a defendant, I'm a de minimis user, but they want us to support them in their lawsuit, the Indian Wells Valley Water District. Now, a lot of people out here have been talking, and they're very angry and upset. It's bewildering. It's just scary, quite frankly. In the letter, as Kyle said, there was language presented that kind of was very I won't say threatening, but it was kind of saying, like if you don't get on board with us, you don't know what's going to happen to you when the court comes down on everybody. I don't think that's a big surprise, but I think a lot of them out here talking, they're saying, you know what, they need our support. They need our support. Well, you know what? A lot of them are saying they're not going to get our support. They're not going to sign those forms and send them in to the attorneys. That's everyone's decision. However, on the 26th of this month at 6 o'clock in the City Hall chambers, there will be a big meeting, and the attorneys are going to be in there to explain all this stuff to the public, which I definitely want to come to the meeting and find out what's going on. But the other problem that we're seeing, too, if you do agree to join the lawsuit, right now I don't really know what to do. I'm so confused. It's very scary. I just want everybody to be happy, and let's get on with this. Like you said, let's get this water issue solved. It's just unreal. But if you do decide to join and you send in your paper, then you have to send your papers to Orange County e-file, and they gave a list of a whole bunch of companies that's authorized by the Superior Court down there, which a lot of people don't know how to do that. I'm one that doesn't know how to do it. I'd have to, I'm just really traumatized by that. Who's going to help me if I do decide? And also, if I did show up down there, from what I read in person, which I can't do because I can't drive that far, I would have to prove to the court how I'm, what am I doing with my water? It was a little unclear into what they wanted for me to make a statement on that, which I thought was kind of ambiguous in the legal description. So I was pretty shocked to see Brady's on there up on Highway 14, 395, in a lot of places. But maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but I would really like to see the Indian Wells Valley Water District. I think this is really kind of being rogue when they did this, but I was hoping that they would work with the other entities, San Bernardino County, Inyo, Kern, and also the city of Ridgecrest. I was just hoping that they'd all get back on board. Now, there's another thing being said out there. I don't know if it's true, but the initial reason to do this was to bring in the Navy, and because they're mentioned in the lawsuit, is to make them conform and get on board with this 600 square miles of our basin that really is endangered, and not let them get away anymore with saying, well, we can do what we want to. We're the federal government. You guys solve your own problem. And I've always believed that, we're all in this together. We the people, we support our Navy, but we're still Americans, and we all need to work together. That's kind of what I feel, and a lot of other people. So I'm hearing that was the initial reason. They couldn't just sue them individually, so they had to do everybody. So I don't know, guys. I've read it again and again, and I'm looking forward to that meeting to clear up some of this stuff. And I'm wondering also, where are they getting the money for this horrific lawsuit, the Indian Wells Valley Water District? I mean, like Dr. Heyman was saying, this could go on for years, and where's this money coming from? So anyway, I thank you very much for listening, and we're all just shaking in our boots now, and we're sad and we're disappointed and we're confused, and it's just catastrophic, quite frankly. And it's not all over. So anyway, thank you for listening tonight. That's just my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, Kathy. I don't know if you're still on, but if you are,
yeah, I'm still on. I'm
okay.
still on.
This is Councilman Heyman again. So your questions were spot on. I wished you'd have been at their first meeting and could have voiced that, and I highly recommend that you come to that second meeting. Those were pretty much my two concerns that I had, and I was pretty specific about asking them about the private well owners, even though I represent the city, about, or if, and I'll be frank, I'll tell you what my question was, because this was a conversation I had with one of the directors from the water district at a GA meeting, and the conversation went, along this line that I asked him, I said, so let me see if I get this right. If a de minimis user has 2 acre feet of water allotted to them, is what you're saying, that if they're only using 1 acre feet, you would like that other acre foot of water? And the comment was, well, I think that's a good idea. I said, I don't think that's a good idea. So that, to me,
I don't think it's a good idea either. I agree with you on that, Dr. Heyman.
So these are concerns that I have, and I'm not so sure that my questions were answered in a what I would consider a satisfying manner. But I highly recommend you come to the meeting and reiterate that question exactly the way you just voiced it tonight. So thank you
Well,
very much.
it's I'm going to go back and read the lawsuit again, because I'm not an attorney, but I do know how to read a little bit, and I'm seeing a lot of different things every time I read it. But now I'm allowed that 2 acres, and I'm going to be honest with you, I never even use that much water. I never would use an acre of water out here. I just don't. And I'm on a well with 4 other people, and we're flushing our toilet and taking a shower, basically. We're not running. I have a beautiful view of the trees out here. It's gorgeous. It's $1 million view. And but I'm not planting an orchard, even though I'm agricultural, zoning. I know where we are in the water. I cut back so much on my property. I've got like 20 pine trees that I've had to let die because I just feel responsible that I've got to do more, but I would never use my 2 acres, even though it's allotted to me. But like you just made a good point, it's kind of sad when someone comes in and says, oh, well, we'll just take their other water then. And that is kind of, it doesn't sound good. So thank you for that comment.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Debbie, and again, thank you for participating in the process, and hope to see you that January 26th. Are there any other callers on the phone?
You. I'm hanging up. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Seeing none, any comments from the floor? Mr. Gorman.
Hi, I'm John Gorman, a Ridgecrest resident, and for purposes of agenda item number 4, which I assume we're on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. A de minimis well user. I'm on the fence regarding the adjudication, but I have an open mind. You used this bully pulpit this evening for some editorial slant right now, and indeed the last caller did too. I don't know what much I can say on the other side besides what I get in my little barber shop that's really a welding shop, but people wander in and we talk. Very generally, the feeling is everybody in this fight has a lawyer beside them except the people. And that means a lot. So to join the adjudication, you're a litigant. You have a lawyer on your side. Gee, there's some warmth there. I don't know the particulars. I'm eager to know. I'll certainly be here when the Water District tries to gather everyone up and clarify as much as they possibly can. Though I've noticed over the months and years, the Water District and the Groundwater Authority have been ongoing antagonists. I don't get much from this body here, City Council, as far as direction to Dr. Heyman. Why don't you do what you can to lower the antagonism? I know the Water District's up next for the chairmanship of the GA. Let's not skip him. Let's not insult Stan Rotora the way we just did. All that does is add more antagonism. And in part, the antagonism, I assume, led to this adjudication. That also, and it was mentioned by the last caller, the extent to which the adjudication finally brings in the Navy. Nothing else has been successful in doing that. And there may be, that may be for the overall good of the discussion. I guess that's all I had to say. I had something else, but I'm 76 years old, and I left it back at my seat. My friends, thank you.
Thank you, Skip. I'm going to go ahead and just address 2 of those things real quick, which is first, the skipping over of Director Rotora was not a decision of the City Council. That was a decision of the GA, and we have no authority beyond providing direction to Mr. Heyman, who then applies his best judgment, especially in the terms of why they made the decision that they did. It's not my decision to make. Secondly is, trust me, there's communication happening all the time between Scott and the other council members in regards to water. From the time, I just finished my first year, Skip, and I just want to let you know, water is it's not like we take 2 weeks off and then we hear 5 minutes on it. It's literally every single day. There's something new with water about why, how somebody's been affected, how somebody's upset about it, whether de minimis is good, whether agriculture is good. And then you said, one of the things that you said that I want to really kind of narrow in on is you said, I don't know how I feel about this. I think you're right, Skip. The problem is that you don't get a choice anymore about how you feel. You're in. And everyone's in. We didn't get that opportunity to tune down has already passed, unfortunately. And we weren't trying to tune it up. I think that one of the things that the people don't know is we have been meeting with the Water District regularly. Ever since the issue of can there be a way to reduce the fee? Can there be some additional bonding? Can there be options? Ever since that moment, there's been communication back and forth. There's been communication from the very first meeting I had. The very first meeting I had on this dais was an hour-and-a-half long discussion about water with Keith Lemieux in terms of everything that was going forward. I promise you, although we may not be out there literally banging on every social media channel, every detail of every fact, it's out there, and our phone lines, our emails remain open and available to discuss. But every single one of the questions that you posed are Water District questions.
I mean, if you want to, Skip.
Yeah, but we'll give you a chance to speak, Skip, sure.
Yeah, and Skip, I'm just going to add that level of antagonism, and which it's fair to throw back at us,
Yeah,
if there
of course.
is some sort of consternation. That's a true statement. It's been ongoing. This is not an overnight or a last couple months or a last year. As you mentioned, it's been a couple years, even all the way back to the last election. I said it, and it wasn't received well, but I'll say it anyways because I don't mind who hears it. There was a huge campaign of misinformation, intentional misinformation, that went on in this valley. And I've been quiet about it because I like to show a level of decorum, and I don't like insulting people. And I'm going to continue not to do that. I'm not going to use names. But it's true. It's just flat true. And we've continued to hear it at least insinuated. Okay. And so what comes off as antagonism, I'm going to say back to you, Skip, at least from my point of view, there's a reason why I went to the Water District that day and asked them to help us. The reason why I've been a part of these ongoing meetings is because I'm a little bit tired of the city itself being blamed and having stuff thrown on them. Scott Heyman tries to sit there and just be cool and let things go, and because that's what we are often told to do. Why don't you guys just be cool, take the high road, zip your lip, okay? I'm personally getting exhausted with it because I see so much misinformation put out there from a certain group of individuals, and it's exhausting me. So I'm starting to lose some of that decorum.
Kyle, I look forward to seeing you get angry one of these days.
I don't
Lean
want to.
into your microphone and let it rip.
I don't want to do that.
I do go to the Water District meetings, and there's always an agenda item which says, in effect, well, you met again with City Council. How did it go? And the editorial shrug you get from the individual or individuals who met with you guys is that the City Council appears intransigent. It's their way or the highway is what the Water District gets. They never give a thing. I don't know what the details are. I don't know what the details of what's being discussed. Perhaps Kyle does. Often you're in those meetings, as I am. But what we walk away with is it's one-sided meetings.
Right. See, and that's the slant. That's why what appears as antagonism is me just saying I'm exhausted with it. Hearing the city council, we're always sitting back and keeping our lip shut like we're supposed to. And I'm sure right now Martin wishes I would zip my lip at any minute.
Both of us would be quiet.
I'm sure, but I'm getting, the longer I'm up on this dais, Skip, the more I just don't know if I can.
Well,
because
don't be demure. It doesn't
I'm only-
become you.
I'm
We
only gonna be here-
profit from your anger.
Well, you're right. I'm only going to be here for a few years, and what I don't want to do is look back and think, well, I just sat up there like a stool pigeon and did nothing. So at least what I'm going to do is stand up for the city council. And what at least I'm going to do is say in that point, we've had actually pretty positive discussions where it looks like we're going somewhere. Again, the Water District just may not appreciate that we are standing our ground, that we're not being pushed around. And I don't know if we've always done that in the past. I can't say. I haven't always
Is
been up
it
here.
possible they may feel the same way?
I'm positive.
I'm sure
I'm positive they do. I'm positive they do. And that's why I tried to be objective earlier on. I believe that they believe they're doing the right thing with this adjudication. I can just only see, because we're briefed by a very competent lawyer, Keith Lemieux, him telling us all the ins and outs and details of how things go. I can see where the pitfalls are and what's going to happen. We just got to hope for the best, I suppose. But I'm not going to back down. I'm exhausted with being pushed around by an entity that should be working with us. We should have been working together the whole time. I couldn't agree with you more. And
My-
hopefully, these meetings are going to lead to that.
My
We've
friends-
actually been having good meetings.
Thank you for the opportunity to make this a little bit of a dialogue.
Appreciate it, sir.
Evening, Council. Scott Miller here in Ridgecrest. I want to make sure that everybody heard that it's the 26th of January in this room. It was announced 7 hours ago on Facebook that they'll be having a meeting, they being the IWB Water District, and it will be hosted by the IWB Water District. I don't know which person will be hosting it, however, that is what's been on. And I don't know if this is even a possibility or not. The caller mentioned, and I have not read the lawsuit yet. There's something happening in San Diego. Is the city attorney going to that meeting in San Diego?
I think you're speaking of Orange County, correct?
Yeah, where the lawsuit's being.
You're talking about Orange County because the suit is in Orange County now. So anything that would go through the courts have to go through the Orange County Superior Court.
Okay. Will our city attorney be attending that?
Oh, yeah, our city. I mean,
Keith Lemieux will be, yes.
Oh, and I, again, don't know if this is even possible, and I will say I will even volunteer to do the following. If he even had a stack of names and addresses from people here in Ridgecrest saying, these folks don't have attorneys, I'm the city attorney, and these people from the city of Ridgecrest have said this, and just drop it on somebody's desk. And it's, I mean, may not do anything, but it's kind of a fun thing to do. And I would volunteer to sit at a table right here and collect those names and phone numbers and addresses.
I think the council's best answer to you is if you feel like doing something fun on your own that doesn't involve the city council, I have no power over your individual freedom to do whatever you please, but I'm not going to make any promises about how the city is going to apply that perception.
You probably can't answer this question. If I did decide to have fun with that and I presented it to the city, would the city be able to present that down there?
I could make no answer to that right now.
Yeah, Mr. Miller, I think I can maybe clarify what you're requesting. So if you're a water district customer, your fate is what is brought upon by the courts onto the water district. In other words, if right now the water district pumps about 82% of the safe yield for free. If during the adjudication they lose the ability to pump 2,000 acre feet for free because it goes to, let's say, cereals or it goes to one of the agricultural interests, then we as a city, as a water district customer, will then be affected by that decision, which will require additional imported water at a cost.
Right.
And so those of us who have water district service are represented by the water district. The city of Ridgecrest is a water district customer because we do have potable water here at City Hall. We do have potable water over other locations, and I do believe we water one park with water district water. But we also have our own wells. So where the city comes involved in this is our own wells, our ability to pump water to irrigate our park system.
The city wells.
The city wells, yes.
Okay.
And that's where the city itself as a city entity is involved in litigation because we are a pumper of our water here for the parks, we're now engaged in this litigation. Now, the people who have their own personal wells, that have their private wells, are the ones that are on their own. They're the ones that are either going to have to just live with what happens, or they're going to have to band together and hire their own law firm to represent themselves as individual pumpers. And of course, as well as you have the base, and you have Cyril's Valley, and you have the farming interests. So that's really how it lays out. So what you're asking for us is to gather information from the citizens of Ridgecrest. Well, they're represented by the water district. Whatever decisions made on the water district affects all of us who are a member of that. Remember, they're a district, they're an elected body. And so that's where, what I said earlier, wasn't to kind of direct, some frustration from city customers from the city. It's that the city gets its water, potable water, from the district. They are an elected body within our community that is our water purveyor. That's why I say that's where it's important for city residents to go to the water district meeting, because those are the people who are going to direct your fate.
I don't know if you saw the giant light bulb pop out above my head or not.
Right.
Okay.
And so, and the ones right now that are affected, like the individual pumpers and mutuals and stuff like that, really their potential issue may be is that now they would be required to register their wells. Some of these non-de minimis users who have the ability to pump 2 acres, that may be reduced by the court, may. In other words, if you are de minimis now and you can pump up to 2 acre feet before you have to start paying, the court could come in and say you can only pump 0.8 acre feet because you have a regular home, you don't have any sort of vegetation growing around. So the court could actually restrict your use of the water. I'm just saying this is what may happen. I'm not saying what's going to happen. So those are the risks. That's why I think that it is important to pay attention to this information that comes to you, because depending upon where you live at, depending on what you do, really depends on how it's going to affect you. Right now, I mean, we had a big issue a couple of years ago during the summer when we had a lot of folks that are upset about the possibility of having to register their wells.
Right.
And it led to a very confrontational thing. Well, those folks may have to register their wells, and right now they're engaged in a lawsuit with no representation, and it's really not up to the district to provide them representation because they're not their customer. In fact, I think it'd be illegal for them to do so. Just like it'd be illegal for us to represent people as the city of Ridgecrest in the county because they're not citizens of Ridgecrest. And so that's where I think that by having the well owners come down to the meeting, they can educate themselves. There is time involved. They're not going to lose their right to contest this, but there is a clock, and they need to be educated. And really, I think it is the water, because since the water district filed this full adjudication on top of a partial adjudication, which got this started, I think it's their burden to sit down and explain it. And I do think they're doing their best to meet this due diligence. They are having public meetings. The last meeting was canceled because of a power outage. They're having another one, so I think out of respect for the district, they are going to do their best to notify everybody. They're required by law to send this stuff out. They're going above and beyond to try and get everybody engaged so they can get educated and figure out what they need to do.
I will tell you that I've learned more about this in the last 5 minutes than I've learned in the last 2 years of doing my own research. Right. So I appreciate that. Also, just as a sidebar note, an acre foot is 1 foot deep, 1 acre long.
1 acre wide.
So
Correct.
it's 2 acre feet is 2 acres, 1 foot deep of water from just so that puts it into perspective for people.
Right. And I will say that the city has been meeting with Water District. We are trying to, improve our relationship. We are trying to move forward. We're trying, the city's perspective on this is we're looking forward to the future of our community, future growth. I just heard today that there was an individual that owns some land that wants to develop. They have a will serve letter from the Water District, and they just received a letter of this full adjudication. Now they're confused. Do they build or not build? And so hopefully they will reach out to the Water District. I know that they will, educate that developer on what's going on. But that is the city's concern is that as we move forward, do we have enough water for growth? And if something should happen during the adjudication where the Water District cannot pump 82% of the safe yield, let's say it's less, and then we have to buy more imported water, or it's going to take a while to get here. So the city's concern is that, can we move forward and look at imported water as a solution? How can we make that affordable? I know the Water District's interested too, so those are the things that we're trying to work through.
Very well. I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you very much.
And I will say this, Scott, when Scott and I went to the first meeting they had, they got cut short by the transformer getting blown. Right. It was actually pretty informative on behalf of, the Water District put out a lot of good information. What happens, they started the meeting, and then the electeds went down and sat, and the staff actually sat up here, and they briefed, they fielded questions. It was informative.
That's good.
So if you get a chance to go to that second one, it's pretty good, especially if they just build upon what they did the first time. And I think it's great to go and be a part of.
So set your Google reminders and your Alexa reminders for the 26th at 6 p.m. to come down to the meeting here.
Well, yeah, everybody should care.
Because we don't need another meeting, but yeah.
Very well. Thank you.
Teasing. Can I just address one thing that Scott brought up in the letter that was mentioned? I just want to make sure that I clarified one point on this letter. Everyone who owns land in the basin received the letter, okay? Just because you own land, for example, we own a home or we own property, you can still be a Water District customer and not need to be included in the lawsuit. I just want to make sure that I make that clarifying point that this is required to be provided to all, but not all are required to participate, just for a clarification point. I think we had another caller. Do I have any other public comment from the floor? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and we have one more caller that came in. Caller, go ahead.
Okay, hi guys, this is Kathy Brown again. I'd like to make a couple comments on the lawsuit. I'm going to be reading this about 5 or 10 more times. There is a mention in this lawsuit that with respect to owning land, that it was said in such a way that it covers future people coming in and buying property. So it's a good point to know about tonight with respect to development in the future. That's definitely going to affect a lot of things, but we don't know the outcome, of course, until March. The other thing I wanted to mention, I believe 1 acre of foot of water is about 325,000 gallons of water, which is a lot of water for me, and I would never use the acre foot, even though I'm entitled to 2. And I'm willing, if whatever it takes, to cut down so we can all work together and keep our community, with our water. And the other thing I wanted to say, in that letter, the way it was addressed, it's kind of like the Indian Wells Valley people. They want us. They need me. They need me to come on board with them. And it's kind of, they weren't exactly begging, but at the same time, the language was like, oh, if you don't do this, like you don't know what's going to happen. So like I said, I'm kind of on the fence. It's like, I'll go to the meeting, but I want clarification. By the way, they're going to have the attorney that's representing them down in from Orange County. He's going to be out there at the meeting on the 26th here in Ridgecrest, so it's going to be real helpful to get, more clarification and everything. The other thing I thought about, if I joined, it says in the letter, maybe I should get an attorney, but I don't want to get an attorney. Why do I need an attorney, That's what I'm thinking. And then the other point was brought up. A lot of people out here are saying, well, why should 20 people get together and fight it when the others aren't contributing? That's another, situation that could develop. And another thing that could develop in this, too, if the judge down there looks at this lawsuit and says, you don't have a lot of support. Your defendants, they're not supporting you. I don't think you have that strong of a case. I asked the question of the counsel here. Is it possible that the judge could say, hey, I'm not going forward with your adjudication case. You haven't proven to me that you have enough people on board to solve this problem. Is that a possibility, guys? That was my question, and I just wanted you to think about it. I don't know if it's off key or not. But anyway, thank you for listening, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, Kathy, it'd be speculation on my part.
I'm still here.
Okay, I was just going to say it'd be speculation on my part, but I get the feeling that once this process has started, it's well on its way and it's going to happen, and I think the cookie's just going to crumble how it may.
Yeah.
And I will say, if I'm being objective, which I'm trying to be, it will, as you asked the question earlier, it will bring the Navy into the talk. That's all I can say, is it's going to bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
all these entities, there's going to be what the Water District sees as a fair adjudication of all these entities. So I don't know how it's going to wash out for folks like yourself, but it's a valid question.
Well, I'm not afraid of a de minimis user, and I'm willing to. Whatever they rule, I'm willing to go for it. Because, I don't need that much water just to survive. Flush the toilet, take a shower, basic, it's not like they're going to be taking that away from us. I can't see them doing that. That's just like, we all need to flush our toilet in Ridgecrest and wash our hair and take a shower, so I don't think they're going to just go out here and say, okay, you can't have any more water where you live. I can't see the court in Orange County doing that to all these people out here.
Well, Kathy, let me also add this, just so hopefully this makes you feel a little bit better, is the staff, the Water District staff, and I'm just restating, I'm not giving my opinion, I'm just restating what they said, and that is that in prior cases, in prior adjudication, they have seen that de minimis users are often left alone. That's what they stated. So there is a chance that things will be quite okay, and that there's nothing to worry about. And then there's a chance that there won't be. But I'm just restating, since I know a lot of people weren't at that meeting. That's what I heard,
okay.
I believe. Scott, I think that's what I heard. Yep.
Okay, that it brings up another issue too. What I see here is there's probably going to be a lot of people that could come back and file a lot more lawsuits against all this too. Like they've opened up Pandora's box. It wouldn't be me, but you see what I'm saying? Like, well, in the area, there could be a lot more lawsuits just coming from this particular action that Indian Wells Valley Water District has taken. I could see that down the pipeline as well.
It's a valid question, Kathy. The good thing about a full adjudication is that once the basin's adjudicated, it's adjudicated.
Okay. The other question, some of my friends were wondering, if it goes the bad way, does that mean they're going to drive out here and rip out the person's well?
Well, again, I'm speculating, but my speculation, Kathy, is no. No.
Are they sending the demolition out there? They're going to blow it up and dig it up?
Again, speculation, but I don't believe so. And if I'm reading the water district staff, what they said was they're not trying to make this painful on the valley. They just believe they're doing the right thing. And so I'm not going to say much more because it sounds like now I'm speaking for them. I don't want to do that. But
yeah, it's an interesting thing though, because it was like everyone's saying, they went rogue, and the other entities, in the GA there, it's like, well, you've got Inyo and Kern and San Bernardino and City of Ridgecrest, and then you've got the Indian Wells Valley Water District, and it's kind of like, we were kind of hoping that everything would be maybe working better for everybody. But I understand their position too. If it brings in the Navy Department, I personally think, when you're in a physical valley like we are, we kind of have to look out the box and take care of all of us. So, it's critical for all of us. That's all. Thank you very much again, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other callers on the phone? None? Bring it back to council. Any other comments for Councilman Heyman or for this topic, or shall we move on?
let's go ahead and move on.
Let's move on. I'm of the same agreement. Okay, item number 5. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Item number 5 is a resolution of the Ridgecrest City Council to appropriate a portion of the American Rescue Plan Act funds for a water tank replacement at Leroy Jackson Sports Complex.
So, Narissa, before you tee off, Ron, I was just curious, is there a specific reason we couldn't just put all these on one, as one item, like a bullet point on one resolution?
I think the direction that we were kind of got from finance was to do them separately, so each one had its own project. It makes it better to track the individual projects for the ARPA recording.
Like a good housekeeping, financial housekeeping.
Right.
Okay.
Right. We're not talking. Yeah, we're talking. Several projects, but I think because it's several projects, it's nice to be able to have each project with its own resolution, its own allocation, its own code, and so I think it's just easier for Ms. Freeze when it comes time for any potential audit that it makes it a little more organized in that fashion.
It also let us do a little more of a fine-tooth comb at maybe a 1-year mark with that same binder where we can see this project was allocated, this is what it was budgeted, this is what its final cost was. This project was allocated, this was its budgeted, this was its final cost. So that as we're making determinations on where to use the final ARP dollars as the process moves through, that we have kind of a living document, each project acting as its own individual project.
I can buy that.
Good evening, Council. So the first project I'm here for the ARPA project appropriation is the water tank located at the Leroy Jackson Sports Complex. I presented this project at the ARPA workshop that we had. Just to recap, this water tank is over 20 years old. It's rusted. You can see in the photos there's some holes at the top. So we would like to replace this before it's unable to hold water and starts leaking, therefore wasting water. This project would include the purchase of the water tank and the delivery, and city staff would be able to complete the installation by connecting the water tank once it's been delivered. So that this project wouldn't have to go through the bid process. We would obtain the 3 estimates as our purchasing policy and move forward with the purchase of the water tank. If you have any questions, I can answer them.
Can I just offer one quick clarifying detail before everyone else has questions, which is that the Quality of Life Committee meets on each of these individual items prior to it coming before council, and then moves it from Quality of Life to council. So these have been vetted through 2 Quality of Life meetings, just for the record, because we met yesterday as well as our special meeting, which was not fully quorumed in December, but it has passed through the committee at least twice.
Yes, sorry, I forgot to mention
I just
that.
want to make sure I mentioned that for the other council members.
Did you guys on the committee come up with any hard-hitting questions? Anything that I have a few questions, but I don't know if you guys have already fielded them from the public. I don't need to keep bringing them up.
I would say for the projects that are being presented today, no.
Okay.
The one project that we've went back and forth, we had some feedback yesterday, and we have some additional questions is the smart water system. We're still doing some back and forth conversations in regards to that. That's why it has not came forward. But for the tank, the roofs, and the only other conversation we've had about Pearson Park was the placement of the lighting
And the type.
of lighting. There was a cost benefit to moving away from the solar topped ones that would power generate on their own, and the timing based on what we could get scope wise done in terms of the park. So I'll let Nurse, when we get to the lighting, that would be where I'd say there were some questions, but no significant community input received.
Okay, Roger. The only question I was going to have is about the tank specifically itself. Yeah. What kind of a tank you're replacing it with? Does it also supply potable water, or is it just irrigation water?
It's just what's pumped out of the well, and it gets stored in there to water the grass.
Just to water the grass. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, any potable water that we have at the park is supplied by the water district.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
So I have one question. So this tank is of no use right now? We are not using it?
So we are currently using it. It's just because it's so old and it's rusting and beginning to get holes in it, we want to replace it before we're unable to use it, and we may not have the funds to replace it at that time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It also fits very, very nicely within the ARPA requirements.
Yes.
Because it's specifically water, broadband, or sewer, and this is specific.
Awesome.
Any questions for you? I know you and me have already talked it through.
Well, just to clear it, but tank size is going to be approximately the same size, or?
Yes, it'll be the same.
Yeah, and it's adequate for what it's used for.
Correct.
And is there any potential of any future expansion of need of
Not
water?
that I'm aware of. We do have 2 tanks out there, and we already replaced the other one last year, I believe, is when we did it. So this will give us 2 new tanks. So I don't see us needing to expand them.
In a future need basis. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. I have no other questions. We'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Are there any public questions? Come on down.
Glad you're here, Skip.
Hi again. I'm John Gorman, resident of the city. For what it's worth, a de minimis well user. Actually, I get my water both ways. The water I get out of the well is not drinkable. I know that's not on this topic, but the trees like it, and the horses did at the time. This question, and perhaps the discussion that follows, relates to all this agenda item and the next 2, so we don't have to go through it 3 times. I do have questions. Number 1, what drove the sequence that we're seeing the projects? Right now we're seeing 3. Probably next 2 weeks we'll see 3 more. What drove the sequence? Which one? The tank is first. What? How'd that happen?
That was. Who's answering this one? Skip, why don't you give me the 3 questions? How many questions you got? Do you want me to respond to each one individually just from a time perspective?
I don't know. I'm an artist. I let the environment drive. But I'll ask the general question. I'll step way back. When this first came up, you addressed it. I think it was given up on the screen by you, I suppose.
Yes.
You did a fine job. I think I was watching virtually at that time. And when you alluded to it in sort of a backhanded way, paging through it, letting your shrugs show us what you liked and what you may not have liked.
Just so you know, we all had individually met with each of the department heads and the city manager before that meeting as well.
My question at the time, my wife's question, and others now I'm finding out, was a municipal pool ever mentioned? And when in your process of coming up with the projects, you mentioned, it's in the papers, that you visited with different groups. What was that group? The Aquatic Center Mobilization Group, one of them?
No.
No, shucks. To what extent did the concept of the penny pool funding come up, because we were waiting on the results of the SPP grant, which we did get the results just a short time ago, it seems, which was sad. The grant didn't happen. And I just learned this evening it was about an $8 million grant.
That was what we submitted for, yes.
Was I right about that?
That's what we
Everybody's
submitted
sort
for,
of
correct.
nodding. So anybody who says that if we spent all this, I'll call it the windfall, what do you call it?
ARPA.
ARPA windfall, for want of a name, which is almost $7 million. It would have been enough had we sharpened our pencils, rounded some corners. And I know your answer is going to be, it's the wrong color money, for goodness sakes, for financing a pool, but the bandwidth of what projects are getting financed is wide. You got police cars that double as microwave ovens, and lots of park bathroom roofs, and oh my goodness, my wife and I were laughing out loud as we went through some of them. I'm sure they're all worthy. But, and I'm sure you can do this, you glib rascal. You can share with us in a compelling and simple way why those of us who are really hoping for a municipal pool are going to be disappointed again. I'll go sit down
Okay.
and listen carefully.
You want me to give a whack at that?
Well, why don't I take a whack at the
All right.
sequence, and then I'll let you take a whack at the work that Cherie and you and everyone else did in the back. Okay? So, ARPA. So ARPA started last March. Okay? So that was signed into law in March of 2021. It was the last of the COVID legislative pieces that was pushed through right at the beginning of the Biden administration. And it had the funding, but we obviously weren't not given any details about it up front. We were given very, very brief details. And at that time, what we did is we immediately went to work on the list, with the first item on that list being the pool.
Pshaw.
The first item on that list, the very first item on that list being pool.
You should have kept your notes.
And that's why I'm going to let City Manager Strand address all of the work that they
I'm
went
buzzed
through
to
in
sit
terms
down.
of making that determination.
I'm much too editorial to.
You're fine. But I want to address the sequence side for Narissa. So what I have done is, again, one of my goals is not to wait around for bureaucracy if it's not necessary. In this case, the projects which are being put forward today were projects that the council, during its individual meetings with Narissa, during the individual meetings at our ARPA workshop, were considered low-hanging fruit, were considered items that needed to be done regardless and would have been done either through general funds transfer or through other actions over the next fiscal year, most likely, and we can move forward with them on a more expedited basis. I don't expect for you to see ARPA projects hit every 2 weeks. I really don't. You might see one project a month, maybe, one or two. You might get one this month and then two the next month, then maybe one 2 months later.
There will be one more this month, the
One
smart
more this
water
month.
system.
The smart
and
water
then
system, okay.
Possibly two next month, but I'm not sure yet.
And we've pressed Parks and Rec to get going on these because of procurement times and costs. And so the ones that are coming forward tonight in terms of sequence, were specifically sequenced through to be immediately on the quality of life agenda for December after our ARP workshop, and then streamlined through to make sure it got to council as quickly as possible so they can go through the procurement and acquisition at the best cost basis.
Good answer. And by the way, a leaky water tank is a gimme.
Yeah, it's a gimme. And I think that so this one, then we have the roofing, which I think is another gimme. Again, if you have a broken roof, you got a broken roof. And then the third being the lighting at Pearson Park has been something that we have neglected to provide as a quality of life issue for several years, and we have the opportunity to correct that. And I think that's a quality of life value that we're providing. But a playground as nice as Pearson Park, and then the basketball courts, trust me, the next thing on my Pearson Park list is a bathroom, and Nerissa knows it, and we've talked about it, and the sump, and the things that we need to fix around there. And I live about that far away, but we know which park needs help.
Well, and justifying a project item by saying the term it's a quality of life item.
Yeah.
A lot of people sitting at their homes right now watching and listening are saying, hey, a municipal pool is a quality of life
Right.
item.
And that's why we started with it at number one. Like I said, I'm going to come back to it so you can hear all the
You
hours
never
of work.
mentioned it. It wasn't mentioned when all this was first listed.
No, because we'd
nobody
already-
even used the term. The swimming pool didn't come up,
So-
not even informally.
And if your critique would be that we didn't address it as a council for public record, the amount of work that had went done, I will grant you that one. I can promise you, though, that from a council and a staff perspective, a lot of work was done on trying to find that solution. I'm going to turn it over to Ron to address that side of it, but from a sequencing perspective, is the ones that we considered low-hanging fruit that we could get forward and moving as quickly as possible from a cost and procurement are what's in front of us today.
All right. Mr. Gorman, you work for the federal government?
I couldn't hear you. I
So,
can't quite see your lips either.
Mr. Gorman, you work for the federal government? You understand the color of money?
I did. I had a whole career with the Navy.
This is federal funds, so it has the same kind of flavor that the federal government has. There's certain ways that this money could be spent. It could be spent on direct COVID response. It could be spent on a lost revenue formula. It could be spent in a qualified census area. So there's a series of FAQs that the Department of Treasury put out. We met weekly for 6 months working on how to spend this money and how to allocate it. We did do an analysis of the pool, but the problem was that the location of the pool was the wrong location. The amount of money that could be allocated towards a pool was limited. It wasn't nearly enough. And so it was basically disqualified after we did our whole analysis of what we could actually spend this on and where it could be at.
My friend, forgive me, I don't do first names well. The extent to which you concluded that it's the wrong color of money for a municipal pool, was that after talking to whomever the money came from? There's a name associated with where that money came from.
Yeah,
and told them what's in your heart pool-wise and had them say no? Are they aware of what we were hoping for? Did somebody say no? Is it in writing?
Remember, every city and county in this country received this money. And
Two
yes,
got pools, I think.
No, Mr. Gorman, that was Prop 68 money. That's different money.
Oh,
So,
my staff misinformed me.
correct. Yes, we did reach out. We reached out through McCarthy's office. We did pose that question with them. The answer never came back from Treasury. The answer from Treasury was follow the FAQ, follow the guidelines. And that's what we did. So we made an effort. It didn't qualify. It didn't fit.
Okay.
And Skip, when he says effort, I just want to make sure that you heard what he said. Weekly analysis for 6 months straight. You're talking, I mean, like 200, 300 man hours?
Well, there was a lot of work that went on between
Yeah.
those meetings with staff. I mean, we met based upon staff working on trying to get these answers. We reached out to the Department of Treasury. I know that Sharif Reese was part of a group of finance directors in the state, and in fact, across the country, that were asking these questions on how this money could be spent. And so that full analysis was done, and unfortunately, it didn't fit.
My friend, thank you. You have such a soft and reasonable voice. I can't imagine you snarling at them. Tell me exactly that we can't have a pool. Put it in writing. My friend, thank you. I won't take up any more of your time.
Skip, if it helps at all, if you asked an honest question, Ron, who was snarling at who? I was snarling at you and Sheree. And Kyle was snarling at and Solomon. This council wanted it as badly as the community does.
But I will say, Mr. Gorman, that the projects that we have chosen, while it may not be a pool, are extremely important to this community, are taking care of a significant amount of deferred maintenance that has been let degrade by this community for at least 2 decades. So nearly all the projects that we chose are projects that will save the taxpayers money, will allow the community to use their facilities. And so I do think that although the pool, it's unfortunate, all these projects are very worthwhile projects.
I'm sure they are. Ron Strand, there your name came to me. If indeed you were about to offer somewhere in your answer a bit of a sop to us who are so bitterly disappointed that the money won't go to a pool, were you about to offer some hope in the future for a pool?
To be frank, Mr. Gorman, you know where I sit on the pool. We need a pool. The community needs to fund a pool. We need to find out how to fund it.
Okay, I got the impression you were holding back. Okay.
Mr. Gorman, I hold back when necessary, but in this case, we did the best we could to try and fit this.
Very committed to finding
And I will say that it all boils down to if the community wants a pool, we'll fund a pool.
Hot dog.
Hot dog.
Thank you.
In relation to that, though, since it's a valid question, the community is asking it, not just on social media. I have ran into countless people who aren't on social media who are asking me about the pool, and they go, "Well, what are we going to do about it?" Because I think I remember the mayor saying he's going to have a plan B and a plan C. I said, "Well, I never said that, but the mayor sure said it." So, good, bully for you. But I need to bring up the elephant in the room that the council is always constantly thinking about. Is at least these things are maintenance items, things that need to be done. But the pool itself, and I'm going to look over to the Parks and Rec Committee and then maybe sideways at Narissa. How much would it cost per year to, once the pool is built, let's just say that colors of money be damned. Let's just say that wasn't there. Once it was built, how much would it cost the city to run it?
$350,000.
Yeah, almost
$350,000 a year. That's another elephant in the room to deal with.
It's only solved through a revenue solution or revenue balancing that again, and I've said there's 3 issues that and the pool remains part of those issues that we have to figure out a solution to. Fire service being the greatest priority. Does that answer your questions? Thanks, Skip. Okay, any other public comment? Hearing none, is there any comment on the phones? Seeing none. I'll bring it back to council. Do I have a motion? Or is there any other discussion? Sorry. Hearing none. Do I have a motion for approval of the first allocation for the water tank?
So moved.
A motion and a second. Motion and a second.
Please vote. Yeah, you got it up there. Four ayes, 1 absent, motion carries.
Okay, next item is item number 6. This is a resolution of the Ridgecrest City Council to appropriate a portion of the American Rescue Plan Act funds to replace the roofs at Upjohn Park and Leroy Jackson Sports Complex. Marissa?
Good evening. It's not working. There's supposed to be another slide. Here we go. So I brought forward these at the workshop as well. So I just kind of put together a recap of what you guys saw at the workshop. These bathrooms are roofs are 30 years old or 20. At Leroy Jackson, they're over 30 years, and at Upjohn, it's over 20 years old. We have a problem with kids climbing on the top. So for this particular bathroom, we want to close in where you see the boards where it's just 2x4, so it'll be a solid structure so that hopefully if someone does climb up top, they're not falling and getting injured. But the roofs are not in good condition and they need to be replaced as they're over their life expectancy. We would like to replace them with metal roofs so that they have a better longevity and they're just more sturdier. So you can see both of those. This project process will have to go through bid, so I'll be working with the Public Works Director to put that out as a local bid to get this project done. So the cost that you see is estimated project costs. They came from contractors that came out and gave us a estimated cost while we were doing all of the research for the ARPA workshop. And on each cost, I added a 15% contingency for each one. So hopefully that will be enough. And if we don't use it all, it'll all go back into the ARPA funds to be used towards another project. If you have any questions, and this also was vetted through the Quality of Life Committee.
Okay. Any questions, gentlemen? Nothing from you?
One question. For the replacement of roof on the bathrooms, originally we allocated around 16,200, I think, right?
Right.
So we'll make adjustment from other items. How do we manage?
Yeah, if it ends up being over what we allocated for it originally, then it would take from something else. So I think that's kind of the idea with bringing things back individually so that we can start prioritizing based on the money that's left over.
Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
Kind of a quick go back. I just want to make sure that, so in the detailed project description, you're saying that you recommend it replace with a metal roof. I'm hoping that you definitively will replace with a metal roof.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm tracking the language there because I think it's a great idea. I'm glad you're throwing it out there like that.
I think she's asking for council's permission to agree to the resolution.
To us.
Yes.
Good point. Thanks.
And, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Not that it is a big deal, but the total should come to 52,118 as against 52,111 mentioned. So it's not a big deal though. So if you want to make a correction.
Okay. I can do that. I can correct it.
The first item, the total is 27,968 and the second one is 24,150.
Mm-hmm.
So that total should be 52,118.
I trust his math.
I do too. Definitely
Mayor,
won't question
I'm going to
that.
go back. I'm sorry.
Okay, you got it.
I got it.
Yeah.
We're still
I'll make the change.
Yeah, all right. I'm sorry. I have another go back. Is there any way during fixing these roofs you're going to be able to fix? Because don't the doors at the park get pried open a lot? Is it up, John?
We were having a problem with that. I haven't heard that that's been such an issue lately. There for a while we were locking the bathrooms, so I think the fact that we weren't making them as accessible maybe made people stop doing that. Recently we haven't had such a problem with that. But I know if there is an issue with the doors, our maintenance staff will go out and fix them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
And
Okay.
also a language correction.
A language correction.
Uh-oh.
Okay, go ahead. What you got?
Okay, sorry. Go to the last but one paragraph. It says, city manager to sign off on any, in the resolution, city manager to sign off on any agreement, and I think it should say, and have the finance director to adjust the fiscal year 21-22. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you.
Good catch, Solomon.
I can't, I'm used to those
you can't
things.
help
I
it.
can't help it.
You got me finally.
Okay. Any other comments from the council? Is there any comment from the floor? Seeing no public comment there. Any public comment on the phones? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council. Do I have a motion for approval of the resolution with the 2 amendments as requested by Councilman Rajaratnam?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second.
Please vote. 4 ayes, 1 absent, motion carries.
Okay, next item is item number 7. This is a resolution of the Ridgecrest City Council to appropriate a portion of the American Rescue Plan Act funds for Pearson Park lights.
Good evening again. So here's another slide just to recap. This did change, however. Initially, when I came to you guys during the workshop, I was proposing adding solar lights around the playground area to create lighting there so that we can get extended use at the park. While doing research, the maintenance supervisor, Nick, also looked into retrofitting our existing lights that we have out there. And we came up with that the cost would be around the same for both. So after several discussions as staff, also going through quality of life, speaking with the city manager, staff decided that the best approach would be to retrofit our existing lights that are out there with LED. And when doing so, the company said that they can add some additional features to the poles that are next to the playground, aiming the lights toward the playground as well as the basketball court, so it'll provide better lighting. By retrofitting, we still have the ability to set timers, so those lights will turn off, and then it will just be the security lights after the park hours have closed. And we would save on electricity cost as well by going with newer fixtures.
So we get a combination of new fixtures plus retrofit.
Correct.
For the same amount of money.
Correct. And this
I just want to make sure the A, B, the C.
and this project can be done through a pre-negotiated purchasing contract. And the company that we found actually did the retrofit at the Leroy Jackson Sports Complex, so we're familiar with them, and they've already done some work for us, and it's been successful. So if you have any questions.
Is one pole, is that correct? That's what.
I was just saying, I'm just wondering
It would be all of the poles that are there
you're retrofitting, but you're only adding 1 fixture.
on the poles. No, we would be adding 2
Okay.
additional fixtures.
Thank you.
And the key element is it would then be able to allow for the playground to be used
Correct.
during night hours between
Those fixtures would be pointing at the playground, and then 1 would be added to point at the basketball courts.
Quality of Life was given some lighting diagrams, and it will fully cover the play area.
Sorry, I got another. It's a pain in the neck question, and I wasn't going to ask it, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it. We just went through this with the streets, like with the particular Kelvin, with the particular Kelvin rating of the lights that are going to be used in the park. And I just want to head off any future questions. Like if the neighborhood's around, especially during the fall, winter time, the lights are on. Are they going to be pointed at or are at a Kelvin that people are going to complain about because it's.
I did ask that question because of sitting during council meetings, and the answer was no, that it should not affect the houses or the streets.
Awesome.
I can also have Public Works Director take a look at the specs of the lights to make sure that what's going up is right.
As much as I would love to be a pain in his neck, I think that he has got enough on his plate to answer silly questions from me. So, no, I appreciate it, Narissa. Thank you.
Same correction in the resolution.
Same correction. Okay.
You got it.
Got it.
Same correction prepared. Just want to throw out something else that people may or may not have noticed when they came into council chambers today, which is that at Quality of Life yesterday, we were notified that they had completed the LED retrofit in our parking area and around Kerr McGee Center. And I think that that's an example of they are already taking the Kelvin into account. And I really do appreciate you bringing that up, Kyle, because that would obviously come up.
Yeah, actually, Travis worked with SE to fix some lights that were a complaint by the public. behind some neighborhoods.
Yeah.
It was kudos to the staff.
I also mentioned, and for the public out there listening, if you haven't noticed, the retrofit of the street lights to the LEDs has also started in some areas, and you know, LEDs provide a much more power efficiency. They also tend to have a variance in terms of how bright or not bright they can be. It's a very positive improvement, and I'm just excited to be able to bring this forward. So,
No.
With that, I will go ahead and ask the public if there are any questions, any public comment. Seeing none, is there any public comment on the phones? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Do I have a motion for approval of the retrofit lighting at Pearson Park with the one amendment to the resolution as directed?
Motion to approve the changes.
Second.
Please vote.
There it is.
4 ayes, 1 absent, motion carries.
And for those of you who are at the tree lighting, there's one promise fulfilled. I said we'd get Pearson Park going ASAP, so I just think it's a beautiful playground. Excited to be able to let kids get out there and play more.
Thanks, Narissa.
Okay, next is committee reports. The only committee we can actually do, I think, because did any committees meet in December?
No.
The holiday planning committees were in full force. I know Quality of Life met yesterday. Do you want to take that one?
I'll share it with you if you want.
Okay. I'll let you be the beginner.
So Quality of Life did meet. We discussed the ARPA projects, some of which we were going over tonight. We discussed the smart water system, which will be coming up before us here in the near future. I don't know if we set an exact time, but kind of a
Nurse is saying it's going to be here
On the 19th.
on the 19th. Okay. And some of the old business was, well, that was the old business, but basketball has started. So the adult signups are ongoing and close on February 13th. We talked about LED lights at the City Hall, which we just discussed here a minute ago, and I can vouch that was one of the first things I noticed when I got out of my car last night and stood outside. I was impressed with the new lighting. The quality of it is nice. I'm not sure what the Kelvin is, but it's pleasant and it's bright enough, and
It's a pleasant Kelvin.
so I think it's a nice upgrade. So if it's any indication of what our parks will be like, I think it's a great upgrade for the city. Let's see. Did you have anything else you'd like to add, Mayor? We talked a little bit about next projects. Anything you want to?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to address was we had Nick from the maintenance department here to talk about the smart water system, and I want to. I know that during ARPA, that was probably one of the question marks I got real quickly was regards to smart water. So I want to welcome and encourage the public to reach out to us prior to that meeting if they've got questions on the smart water system. I mean, if I was to describe it for somebody who, in simple terms, why this is a smart investment is to imagine that it does two things. First, it's going to help us manage our water more efficiently, which above everything else applies to the conservation, to the water issues, and everything else. The second is it's going to give us a very clear delineated measurement of how much water we're using. And that seems like, okay, well, why is that important? Well, because what the system will do is it's going to actually go out, check the weather, determine what the right amount of water usage we need to be using is, and then use it accordingly. And I described it last night as I said, every politician's nightmare, which is that you're in the middle of water adjudication, it's raining outside, and the sprinklers are running. Right? Because all of a sudden people say, why didn't you have the common sense to shut off the water? Well, because they don't have a maintenance department that runs over and shuts the water off every time it starts to sprinkle. But this allows for our staff to have immediate access to the sprinkler. So, perfect example. I'm going to give you the example of why smart water works for this community. It is, how often do we get rain? What? Once every 9 months. and it's the torrential downpour that we saw right after Christmas, right? And so they're not prepared for it. They get a torrential downpour, and of course we get a text message that comes to Councilman Rajaram and says, "Here's a picture of the water sprinklers running and and everything else." But you guys think we don't care? We absolutely, passionately care. That's why we're up here. He gets to then text Narissa that says, "Hey, did you know that the sprinklers are still running?" This is imagining the future with a smart water system. Let's say it didn't get the relay. It didn't respond. They can actually, from their phone, go shut off valve. What a unique concept, using technology and devices to manage your water resources more effectively. That's why they call it a smart water system. I know there's people that have concerns about it. I'm trying to make sure that I address them. Council members, if you have concerns, there is a cost because it's got to be able to talk, and that was some of the information that we're going to address at the presentation. But at the end of the day, this is another one of those things where we're talking about managing water more efficiently and also managing our staff more effectively.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add one more benefit to that system that really wasn't touched on too greatly last night. Although that system will allow us to manage our water use and turn the water system off when it's raining, but what it'll do probably most importantly is keep our grass from dying.
Yep.
We have sometimes if you have a broken sprinkler head and it's shooting out water, well, it reduces the pressure, so all the valves that are downstream of that quit working. The longer that runs during the summertime with our dirt and grass conditions, the better chance we have of losing our grass. I know staff works very diligently every year to try and keep our grass growing, and we've been working very hard. I mean, typically the environment that is not indigenous for grass, and so we have to work really hard to keep it going. So I think that is a big resource that saves us man hours, saves us time, and allows the parks to be used by the folks.
So are we going to use this in all the parks simultaneously?
It would be a system that would apply to all parks.
So how much does it cost? Do you know?
I'm going to hold off on any other conversation on that because I know Narissa is still getting final bidding and those types of things. So all I really was addressing was the cool thing is hey, this is coming up. Mr. Gorman made a very, very valid point. Okay, what's the next thing coming up and why? And we'll welcome some inputs. If you have any questions, public, we would love to hear them so that we can address them properly for you. Okay. I have nothing else other than again, kudos to the lighting. Looks great. The LED is people would say these are, that's nothing compared to the need for X, Y, Z, Q, P, 2, whatever. But it's another great improvement. It saves energy. It reduces maintenance. It makes our staff more efficient. Those are the kind of check marks we need to be trying to do as many times as we can during these times. So it's a great check mark. City Org, I know, is meeting tomorrow, but you put report from 1-6, but we don't have a time machine.
Yes, it was supposed to meet, I thought it was meeting on Monday and then we changed, so my bad.
My time machine is currently down. Other committees, boards, or commissions? Did anybody meet in December? Nope. The great December blackout. City manager report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I have one introduction, and then I need to turn it over to Rika. She has a couple items to discuss with you guys. I'd like to introduce to you tonight to Isabella Medina. She's sitting in the audience. Yeah, stand up there. She's our new analyst working upstairs with me. She'll be focusing on social media and working with Megan on economic development. Staff made a promise to council that we would begin to work on our messaging, work on how we can inform the community of the things that the city's involved in, what we got going on, what decisions are being made. So Isabel will work with, like I said, Megan, as well as Jennifer, our social media consultant, to be able to continue to work on our messaging as a city. So I figured it was good to introduce her. I'm sure she'll be reaching out to a few of you. I know specifically the mayor. We're kind of hoping the mayor will participate in a video recap of the council meetings to kind of get it out in a short little video. I think we're we're also looking at not only post that on, you know, as well as the videos, but as print, but we're also looking at maybe posting some of these videos on TikTok, which happens to be where the newer generation is migrating to. So we're trying to keep up with our audience. You know, one of the things that people have complained about a significant amount is not knowing what's going on with the city. So we're chasing them to figure out how to get in touch with them. It may not alleviate all of the issues of, hey, I didn't know, but at least we can make an honest effort of trying to, you know, reach out. And then I'll turn it over to...
I think you guys have done a great job in terms of 12 months turnaround. I just want to reiterate loud and clear that you've greatly appreciated, took council's direction and have done a fantastic job of really turning that corner. Megan, Jennifer, Isabel, I certainly, you guys have all been involved in that process, and I just want to make sure that you don't get to say you're trying to. You've been doing.
Well, we're still trying to. We know that
moving it.
We know we have a lot to learn about how we conduct our outreach, and so some of it's going to be hit or miss. But you know, we'll try to vary it as much as we can, so we can at least get, you know, the work that you know, council's approving and the policy directions that you guys are giving to staff, and so we can really try to get the public a little more engaged. As you can see, we have a significant number of important topics coming up. We don't always have a lot of people in the audience, so this outreach hopefully will benefit that. So anyway, I'll turn it over to Rika. She has a couple items for you.
Just as an FYI, I know there's not a lot of people in the chambers here, but there are 20 people watching online, just so you all know.
Thank you.
So I have two things.
Please come again on the 19th.
One thing is Measure V needs to start meeting again, and we need some help with some committee members. It has been our understanding that a good majority of them don't want to reserve. So if you could reach out to your appointees, and just so you know, it is going to be on the agenda for the 19th, so we would like to try and get some appointees for that day. And even if it's just telling us that yours is going to reserve, that's fine, but we just need some confirmation. So it will be on the agenda on the 19th, so they can start meeting again. So that was the first thing. And the second thing is I got an email from Kathy Krause over at the county, and they have a committee at the county level that's called the City Selection Committee. And we generally have a committee member that sits on that. In the past, it has been Mike Maurer, because that board meets an hour before KernCog. Okay. So rather than somebody else having to go over there, that would just made it more sense that Mike did it. And with you being the appointee for KernCog, I'm leaning towards you. Sure. You don't have to make a formal appointment. They generally meet once a year. We just need to know who our representative is going to be and if you all agree.
I think that I would prefer to nominate, you know, Kyle.
And
Okay.
Mayor,
You guys agree?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
and I think we can formalize that in a agendized item.
The committee appointments need to be? Okay, yeah, it'll be, I would say we'll put it together for the 19th, I assume.
We can put that with
Okay.
with the
Yeah,
Measure
Mark, we'll
B.
put it together for the 19th. I was more being humorous that the entire dais was looking at Kyle, and I like to say it.
It just makes more sense, being an hour before KernCog and you're already there. And they do serve you dinner, I was told, so you don't have to worry about that if you go to this meeting. So.
We get pizza at KernCog.
Oh, well, and they do have a meeting for Thursday, January 20th, before your KernCog meeting.
All right, I'm excited about it.
So when we meet on the 19th and appoint you, just so you know, I'll forward you the email, Kyle.
Please do.
Yes, I will send that to you. So we'll plan on you, but we'll formalize it on the 19th. Okay, that's the only two items I had. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Can I ask
What do they do?
Yeah, what's the purpose of the committee?
So I asked the same question,
I mean,
and
I don't.
you can take one of these and pass it down. And this, I'm going to pull it up here because I did. It is guided by Government Code 50270. And what it does is it oversees all these committees and makes appointments to these committees of the list I'm handing you guys right now. Most of the appointments are terms, so they're 4 years or 2-year terms, so that's the reason that you only meet once a year, because they don't have very much turnover. But because they haven't met since 2019 because of COVID, there's a lot of things that are wrong on that list that they need to correct and fill. Some of the appointees don't even work for those cities anymore. So it's going to be a cleanup.
Roger that. Okay, I see.
I will tell you that when I talked to Kathy, some for sure holes that she knew about were number 8, the Kern Countywide Oversight Board. It does have to be a finance director, and so I was going to talk to Cherie and see if she's interested, and if she is, we'll put her name in the hat. I haven't had a chance to talk to her yet because I just talked to Kathy literally at 4:30 before this meeting. The other one was the Law Enforcement Oversight Committee, number 6. It's Kathy's understanding that both the city manager and the chief of police position are open. So she was wondering if you or Jed might be interested. So that's another conversation I was going to have. And throw their name in the hat. Well, we have to have consensus that they're willing to do it first.
Oh, okay.
And then for number 7, the RAN board. That's a rotating one, and we're actually going to be coming up year after next. So whoever sits on our selection committee at that point will probably be on the RAN board, but I'm not really sure how that works as far as meeting. Since we're 2 years out, I didn't ask very many questions about that. And then for LAFCO, we are set to be on that because that's a rotating board also for 2024. So, but those are a ways out. And they also have an opening on the number 1, the San Joaquin Valley Unified Air. It would be an alternate if somebody's interested in doing that. If any council member is interested in sitting on that. So I'll forward you the email though, so that you can know what's going on.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Future agenda items. Any council members have a future agenda item? Hearing none. Mayor and council comments. We'll go left to right.
I have nothing.
I just have one question on SB 1383. With the Kern County supervisors delaying the vote, how does that affect our organic bins?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
No, that increase in that solid waste fee goes towards their effort of managing the actual organic waste that shows up at the landfill. From reading what had occurred, it looks like it'll be approved during the next meeting. I mean, they're going to have to build a organics facility. Currently, when we move forward on ours, we already have a spot where that organic waste is going to go. It's going to go where it currently goes, which is our landfill, and then it'll be transferred to Bakersfield. So it shouldn't affect our rollout of our plan. Of course, with ours, we're waiting on a decision from the local enforcement agency on a certain methodology. We're looking at recommending trash pickup every other week instead of weekly, because it just doesn't make any sense. You know, you're adding weekly organic, you have one stream, and so Megan wrote the letter, we got the request, we know that it's at their upper management. I do plan on reaching out to their public health director to see if we can get that decision a little bit quicker, because we submitted it on December 9th. So we're hoping to be able to get that decision, then we can then solidify and final our contract negotiations with waste management and bring it back to council.
Thank you. That's it. Just want to say Happy New Year, and all of you did a good job last year. Continue to keep up the good work. So we'll see great things during this year.
Nothing? Nope. Oh, I get my soapbox. I have 3 things, just very, very briefly. The first was again a thank you to our staff, and it was a pleasure to join you guys at the Christmas party, and Rika and Trish and everyone else who worked on the Christmas party. Thank you for that. And then a huge shout out, because I snafu'd at the party and I have yet to forgive myself for almost 30 days. Mary Stage, I'm sorry. I forgot animal control in my speech. We love you. You are super important to this community. Everyone knows you by heart and by name, and I can't tell you we love you enough. Trust me, it was a snafu, and I tried to run out and hug you, but you told me to go away. There's that.
Well, maybe you can prepare a video and send it.
I will gladly prepare a video to tell the world how much we love Mary Stage. And for those of you who don't know Mary, Mary has been the heart and soul of animal control for this community for 30 years. She is every kitten, cat, dog, spaniel, bird, God knows. She's been everywhere. And she's an incredible woman, and it was nothing but a snafu because I didn't know she was there. So just wanted to make sure I made that public apology on YouTube. You can watch it over and over and over again and hear me say how great you are, because you are. Second, I want to put another shout out for greatness, and that's to Dave Janik, who left, and Renee Westerlux. For those of you who don't know everything that's happened from the previous meeting, the California Redistricting Commission submitted its final maps, and Ridgecrest remains part of the congressional district, which we believe will remain ran for by Congressman McCarthy in the November election. It is a pretty substantial change. I will temper my comments as this is public record, but I will say that the California Redistricting Commission had a large job to accomplish, and there were many, many voices. I wish some of those voices had less political intent and more truly representative intent. But regardless, we represented incredibly as a community. I just want to, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm patting Dave and Renee on the back, especially Renee, who watched literally every single meeting and provided me feedback and information back every single time on every little squirm. And literally in the nth hour, at the eighth moment, there was an attempt to make a substantial change to how the district synergies existed between Edwards Air Force Base and Channel Lake Naval Base, and they worked our tail off. Those two people got 20-plus comments put in 24 hours from people in Cal City and people from other areas explaining why this relationship between Edwards and Channel Lake was so important to the synergies. I want to share the story with the public because I don't think they understand how our lives work up here. So it is, 3 days before Christmas. I'm in line at Big Lots. I have been on hold now on my cell phone for 4.5 hours to make public comment at this redistricting commission. And I have my 10-year-old son listening for the last 4 digits of my cell phone number because I'm chasing one child over here. I'm trying to check out. And he goes, "Daddy, 4069, 4069, 4069. And he comes running at me. And I have to, on the fly, give testimony to the California Redistricting Commission in the middle of Big Lots. And I have to do it off my brain on the fly. But that's because those two people, Dave Janik, Renee Westerlux, continuously educated and made sure that we were aware of it. And I offer them my deepest thanks, gratitude. This community should do the same. You don't understand how important that is for the long run. And then here's the carrot. We didn't just keep Edwards. We also became a 3 military base district because Lemoore became part of our district, which is very interesting, which makes us a very heavy military district in potentially a very, very strong congressional district in California. That's very good for Ridgecrest.
Yeah, it is.
That is truly very, very good for Ridgecrest. We've been talking about how are we going to get water here, and how are we going to get this here, and how are we going to get that here. It's called the U.S. government, and it doesn't hurt to have a friend in high places. That's that. So, Dave Janik, Renee Westerlux, thank you. You guys did an incredible job. And, I think these are the things that people just don't know. They just don't understand how much time and effort is put into these things. So, kudos to them. And then, of course, finally, kudos to this community. It's an interesting time. We're back into Omicron fears and this fear and that fear. Ridgecrest has been an incredible community, and I think we will continue to be. I hope that this bubble is short and quick, and that we all remember to respect each other through the process. It's been a hell of a 2021, and I'm looking forward to a very fun 2022. And, you know, you're going to have some decisions put before your community this year, and you're going to have to make some. It's time. Asking us to just always be pushing the ball or kicking the can is not going to happen anymore. We're going to put forward decisions, and then it's up to you. So, best wishes, happy holidays, happy New Year. It's 7:56. I feel like I want to talk for 4 more minutes just to see who wins. She already won, so I'll adjourn this meeting.